This story is about my violent stepbrother. I was so scared he would hurt me that I tricked him into committing a crime so he had to serve a long prison sentence. It all started when my mother got married to George. He was an absolute jerk, but his son Peter was even worse. He had autism and always stared at my body even though I told him to stop doing it. Sometimes he even tried to hug me, so I had to physically push him away. Maybe he didn't have bad intentions, but I didn't care. I told him he was a huge creep and a loser. Unfortunately, my mom thought I was disrespectful. She said, "He has a disability and you need to be nice to him." I responded, "But I'm scared. He wants to hug and touch me and he's much stronger than I am." But my mother wouldn't listen. You see, Peter often had meltdowns where he suddenly attacked his own dad and bit into his arm. But what if he attacked me one day? Well, my mom didn't care. She forced me to have regular board game nights with Peter, and he always acted as if I was his girlfriend. He would pull out his smartphone and say, "Hey, I'm here with my girlfriend Christy, and tonight we're playing Monopoly, just the two of us." It was so creepy, and one time we all went swimming at a lake. I was wearing a bikini when Peter came up to me and just stared at my breasts. It made me feel very uncomfortable, so I screamed, "I don't like you, no girl likes you, and that's why you're gonna die alone as a creep." His reaction surprised me. He sat down and just started crying. Suddenly, I felt bad for him and apologized. I said, "Hey, I'm sorry for what I just said. Actually, you are a nice guy." But I regret saying that because he stood up and hugged me, pressing my body against his. I had to push him away and told him to F off. The next morning, I got ready for school and took off my pajamas to get into my favorite leggings. But when I turned around, my heart skipped a beat. Was there someone laying below my bed? I looked closer, and yes, there was my stepbrother Peter. He was holding his smartphone, and I completely freaked out and screamed, "Get the F out of my room, you dirty creep!" Peter got up, and that's when I realized that he must have been filming me the whole time. That's why I tried to take it away from him, but he was too strong and just left. I felt so angry and helpless. Peter could do whatever he wanted and just blame his autism. I went to my stepdad and said, "Get your son under control. He filmed me this morning from under my bed. He saw me changing my clothes and he is a creep." But my stepfather started laughing and said, "Calm down. He's harmless. He just doesn't know how to properly talk to an attractive girl like you." I freaked out and screamed, "But I don't like him back and I never will. He is a creep." My stepdad got angry and said, "No one cares who you like. My son has autism and you have to respect that." I couldn't believe it. No one punished my stepbrother for filming me while I was naked. So it was no surprise when the next day, Peter put his hand on my shoulder and asked, "Do you want to go to the cinema with me?" I kicked him so hard in the balls, he fell on his knees and cried for minutes. I said, "Don't ever touch me again." But just a few hours later, my mom, my stepbrother, and I were sitting at the lunch table when he took his soup and threw it on my mom's breast. Then he laughed and said, "Nice." But instead of getting angry, my mom said, "It's okay, no worries." However, I knew Peter had done it on purpose, so I told him, "That's why you don't have friends and why you never will find a girlfriend. You are a disgusting pig." And Peter responded, "I have autism, don't bully me." Wow, he was using his disability as an excuse to behave like a jerk again. Some people are just disgusting. Well, a few months later, my stepbrother attacked one of his teachers in school. It was so bad that the teacher had to go to the hospital. My stepbrother was put on trial and got a 3-month prison sentence. My stepdad was furious and screamed at the judge, "Can't you see he has a disability?" And the next day when my stepdad sat on the couch, I went over and said, "I told you that your son is a jerk, and the judge agrees with me. Peter uses his autism as an excuse to hurt other people. I'm glad he's locked away." It was so satisfying to tell my stepdad that he was a terrible father. And then he stood up, went right into my face, and screamed, "If you say one more thing about my son, I'll throw you out of the house." I responded, "You didn't discipline him, and now the world would be a better place if your son was just dead." My stepdad kept screaming at me, but I didn't care. Life without my stepbrother was so much better. But of course he came back after 3 months, and he had changed. He had dark circles around his eyes and didn't speak. I bet his cell inmates didn't put up with his tantrums and gave him a few good beatings. I thought he had finally learned to be respectful, but he quickly went back to his old behavior, just worse. Now he would stare at my breast nonstop whenever he wanted. I got so scared that I asked my boyfriend to move into our house. I wanted him to protect me. But when my stepbrother saw us together holding hands, he completely freaked out and screamed, "I'm her boyfriend! I'm her boyfriend!" He was like a baby, and one time I forgot to lock my door, so Peter opened it and saw my boyfriend and I making out. He got really angry and screamed, "No!" Then he got a hammer and destroyed the wall between his and my room. He even put his head through the hole and screamed at my boyfriend, "I'm gonna kill you!" And then he threw the hammer at us. He only missed my boyfriend by a few inches, and that's when we decided to get rid of him. We knew my stepbrother was on probation for beating up his teacher, so if he committed another crime, he would be sent to prison or to a mental health institution for several years. So when he was watching cartoons, we went right in front of him and made out. As expected, he freaked out again, but this time much worse. He turned into a psycho and punched so hard against the window that it broke. Then he picked up a big piece of broken glass and came towards us. He didn't know that we were filming him on a hidden camera, so I said, "Stop it, why do you want to kill us?" When he was only 1 meter away, my boyfriend shot a taser at my stepbrother and he collapsed. Then we called the cops and showed them the video footage. This time, the judge sentenced my brother to 8 months in prison. But when my stepdad found out what I had done, he resented me so much that he threw me out of the house. He screamed, "You've destroyed my son's future!" And of course I was incredibly angry that my own mother allowed him to throw me out. Afterward, I didn't see or talk to my mom in years. But finally, I came back over Christmas, and yes, my stepbrother was back. To my surprise, he apologized to me, and for a moment, I thought he had changed, but then he blatantly stared at my breast again, and I knew he was the same disrespectful person as before. However, now my stepdad was behaving even worse. He had lost his job 6 months earlier, which meant my mom had to work overtime every day to earn enough money. My stepdad could at least have done the housework, but instead he gave my mom orders like, "Hey, get me another drink." And that's why I took my mom to the side and told her she had to break up with my stepdad. But she started crying and said, "Since he's lost his job, he got us $20,000 into debt. If I break up with him, I have to pay back half of it, and I can't afford it." Well, that night I slept in my old room. But when I wanted to take a shower the next morning, I noticed that the underwear I had put into my bag was missing, and of course, I knew who had taken it. It was my creepy stepbrother. I didn't even want to think about what he was doing with it, and it was so disgusting that I didn't even confront him about it. However, when we opened our Christmas gifts, things escalated. My mom had bought Christmas presents for all of us, but neither my stepdad nor my stepbrother had bought her anything in return. She got so sad about it that she struggled to hold back her tears. And seeing my mom suffer made me so angry that I screamed at my stepdad, "You lazy piece of bum! My mom takes care of you, she earns the money, she does the housework, and in return you do nothing? You didn't even think about buying her a gift." My stepdad responded, "Calm down. I've tried everything to find a job, but it's a tough economy out there." I said, "Okay, show me how many job applications you have sent out this month." But he responded, "It's December. It's holiday time. No one works over Christmas." I was about to explode, but then my mom said, "You're right. They don't respect me, and they don't appreciate the sacrifice I'm making. It's over. I'm gonna move out." My stepdad jumped up and screamed at me, You've been trying to destroy this family for years. I'm suffering from depression, and you have no idea how much I struggle." Wow, did he really think he could manipulate me by making me feel guilty? Well, it didn't work. I just laughed at him and said, "Ha! Finally, you're getting what you deserve." Meanwhile, I noticed my stepbrother staring at my breast again, but I didn't care anymore. My mom moved in with me and tried to start all over, but the divorce took many months, and meanwhile, my stepdad used my mom's credit cards to get her into another $20,000 in debt. It really isn't fair, but after her divorce, she was stuck with $20,000 of debt, and it will take her years to pay it off with her small salary. But at least she's free now, and we still have each other.
My dad says that Mom left us after she gave birth to me. Supposedly, she said, "I'm out of here," and no one ever saw her again. I don't know if that's a true story, though, because my dad always says and believes a lot of weird stuff. I mean, I love and respect him, but last year, he took it to the next level. I just got home from summer camp when he told me that he'd been abducted by aliens. I started to laugh, but he was dead serious. He said there was a light all around him, and he couldn't move. And then he got beamed up to their ship. Apparently, the aliens talked to him, but he can't remember what they said. And at the end, a blue female alien came into the room, and I guess you can imagine what happened next. I thought it was a funny story, but I didn't take it very serious, so I just continued my day. Meanwhile, my dad got a call from our local radio station, and was invited to talk about his experience. He even made it onto the front page of our local newspaper, and suddenly he was some kind of celebrity. People looked at him on the streets and asked how he was doing. My dad always responded with, "I'm scared of being abducted again, but I'm trying to live my life regardless of what happened." Of course, everybody thinks he's nuts, but that's okay because I love my dad no matter what.